Have you ever been scrolling through TikTok and a beat just grabs you, and you're wondering, how did they even make that? Well, you might think it's all just high-tech computers and stuff now, but the secret story of where it all started is, honestly, way cooler. It's a story about a huge problem, a little bit of genius, and completely reinventing music as we know it. So, yeah, let's dive in. So, believe it or not, the entire history of hip-hop production really kicks off with this one simple question. Just imagine for a second. You find the absolute best part of a song, right? The part that makes everyone instantly want to dance. But it's only 5 seconds long. How do you keep that feeling, that energy, going all night long? That was the puzzle. All right, so let's set the scene. Picture this. We're in the Bronx, New York, back in the 1970s. We're talking huge outdoor block parties. They were the place to be. And the DJ? Well, their job was simple, but it was absolutely critical. Keep people dancing, no matter what. And this, right here, this was their secret weapon. DJs started noticing that in all these old funk and soul records, there were these tiny little moments where every instrument would drop out, except for the drums. That's the breakbeat. And whenever that part of the song hit, the crowd would just go absolutely nuts. It was pure energy. But here was the big problem. This amazing, high-energy part of the song, the best part, it was over in a flash. The energy would shoot through the roof and then, poof, it was gone. The music would go back to the verses and chorus. So the DJs had to figure out, how do we catch that lightning in a bottle and make it last? So what did they do? Well, they got really, really creative. They started to, hack their own equipment. They were using their record players or turntables in ways that nobody ever intended. This wasn't just about playing music anymore. It was about playing with the music itself. And here is the genius solution. A DJ named Kool Herc came up with this incredible technique he called the merry-go-round. Honestly, you can think of it like the very first cheat code for creating an infinite loop. He'd get 2 copies of the exact same record. He'd play the breakbeat on one turntable, and right before it ended, he'd switch over to the second turntable, playing the same part, all while he was manually rewinding the first record back to the beginning. He turned a 5-second moment into a non-stop beat. It was revolutionary. But the hacking did not stop there. Oh no. Another DJ, Grand Wizard Theodore, had this happy accident. He was moving a record back and forth with his hand and created this totally new, wild rhythmic sound. We call it scratching. It was like he'd found a hidden feature that the record player was never supposed to have. And this is a huge deal, okay? The turntable wasn't just a machine for playing music anymore. It became a brand new instrument. The DJ wasn't just some person picking songs. They were a live musician, performing for a crowd, creating a totally new sound right there in the moment. So the live shows are epic, total game changer. But this created a brand new problem. How do you take that live magic, that raw energy from the party, and actually build a real song around it in a recording studio? And this is where the technology takes a massive leap forward. We jump from the physical, analog world of turntables, we're talking actual grooves on a vinyl record, to the new digital world of samplers. The idea was pretty much the same: find cool sounds and reuse them. But the new tool was about to change everything. So what even is sampling? Well, it's basically the digital version of what those DJs were doing live. Let me put it this way. You know on TikTok how you can grab a popular sound from someone else's video and use it to make your own new video? That is the exact same idea. You're taking a little piece of something that's already out there, and you're flipping it to make something totally new. So let's just break down the difference, right? Live DJing was a physical performance. You're juggling 2 identical records just to make one beat last longer. But sampling in the studio? That was a whole different game. It was about digitally arranging tiny sound bites from lots of different records to build a brand new beat from scratch. The creativity literally moved from the stage into the studio. And with this new digital superpower, producers developed this whole new set of creative techniques. It was like they were suddenly given a giant box of sound Legos and could now build pretty much anything they could dream up. But first, you had to find your Legos, right? So producers would spend hours, even days, digging in the crates at old record shops, hunting for rare vinyl. The goal? To find some unique drum sound or a cool little melody that nobody else had ever heard before. It was like a real-life treasure hunt for legendary loot that would make your track totally unique. So once they found that perfect sample, they could do something called chopping. And this is where it gets really creative. You take a piece of music, you slice it up into tiny little bits,
And then you just rearrange those pieces to make a completely new melody. It's kind of like taking a sentence, cutting out all the individual words, and then using those words to write a brand new poem. And then you have layering. This is where a producer stacks all these different sounds, one on top of the other. Think of it like you're building a character in a video game. You start with the basics, that's your kick and your snare drum. Then you add some armor, that's your bass line. Then you give them a cool weapon, that's your chopped up melody. Each layer makes the final beat stronger, more complex, and totally one of a kind.
Okay, so all of this brings us to today, because those exact same ideas, finding sounds, chopping them up, layering them, they're still the foundation of how so much music is made. The only thing that's really changed, the gear. And I mean, the change is just wild when you see it laid out like this. Back in the day, you literally needed a truck to move all your equipment. Heavy turntables, mixers, amps, and these giant heavy crates filled with records. Today, all of that power, and honestly way, way more, fits inside your laptop, or even just an app on your phone. But that's the key thing to remember. Even though the technology is completely different, that creative mission, it's exactly the same as it was at those first block parties in the Bronx. It's still all about finding incredible sounds and coming up with new, creative ways to share them with everybody. So if you boil this whole story down, what's the one big idea? It's this. Hip-hop production has always been about being creative with the technology you have to make something brand new out of stuff that already exists. It all started with a simple problem and a brilliant creative solution. Those first DJs, they used the tech they had to create an entire culture. Now you have a supercomputer sitting in your pocket. So the only real question is, what are you going to create with it?